What is going on, everyone? It's Ultimate Spy 53 here, and welcome to another episode of Reviewed number 142. And today, I'm going to be reviewing Spy Kids 3 Game Over, the sequel to Spy Kids 2, The Island of Lost Dreams, and the third installment in the Spy Kids Quadrilogy. So what did I think of Spy Kids 3 Game Over? Well, honestly, I think it's probably one of the weakest and worst Spy Kids movies out of all three. Well, four of them technically, because that one's a standalone sequel. But the point is that the three originals that they shot back to back, this is probably one of the worst because it's just there's so much wrong with it. I have a list here of what I found wrong with it, so go ahead and read that off to you because it's pretty long here. First off, the likes. I didn't like the amount of continuity errors that were in the movie. There were so many. I mean, mainly it was because of Grandpa, or Valentine in this case, ditching Junie just all the time, just ditching him, just whatever he wants to do, just like ridiculous. And also later on when they're fighting the giant robots, when Romero shows up, Carmen gives him the last pair of glasses that they have, which are half broken because of the broken lens. And it's obviously perfect because he wears, glasses that have a broken lens, which is great. But then afterwards, she calls him Gary, and somehow has another pair on her. I never really understood that. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. So that was just another continuity error. It had a lot of continuity errors. I mean, not like a crazy amount, but enough that I just didn't understand the movie in that point. But also, it was kind of a funny joke, I guess, sort of. When Junie first enters the game world of the Game Over video game, he kind of taps the ground and he's like, "Oh, computer generated," which is a joke because that's basically making fun of the idea that the entire game world, in the movie at least, is all green screen and CGI, like all of it's just green screen CGI. And that's like not impressive at all. Like the budget was so low that they had to do everything green screen and CGI. It was awful. And I was just kind of like, wow, really? Yeah, this is pointing a good thing out there. It's computer generated, yeah. It was also the first movie to not have anything to do with the spies, like nothing. I mean, there were references from the previous movies, but it didn't really have anything to do with spies. There were really no gadgets involved, like at all, like nothing. I mean, maybe the only gadget there was like a timer. Even then, that's not really a gadget. So it was the first movie in the Spy Kids Quadrilogy because again, there's a fourth one that they made that doesn't actually have anything with spies. It was just like, really? You call this a Spy Kids movie? It's nothing. It's a video game. It's set in the trilogy of Spy Kids, but it is not a Spy Kids movie. It's not. I mean, it has the same characters and everything, but plot is nothing like Spy Kids. It's just nothing to do with Spy Kids. So, I just kind of, yeah, I felt like it needed to have something to do with Spy Kids. If you're gonna call it Spy Kids, it has to be Spy Kids. Like, there's no really gadgets in there. It's mainly just video game stuff, so kind of felt like that was a bit annoying. I also didn't like how Sylvester Stallone was playing different versions of himself. He was playing I think it was a version of his comic character that was basically the news anchor, a guy with the mustache at the beginning of the movie, and then later on he plays himself, obviously as a toy maker, and then he plays other versions of himself. One's like this general, I don't know what he's supposed to be, and then this guy with this almost bald guy, and then this like, I don't know, this hippie, I guess they called that. I don't know. It was weird. I didn't like that at all. I just thought that it was weird. Not only have him talking to us. I mean, obviously he was like it had like bi-double state that was able to figure that out. But I just didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that Sylvester Stallone did that. I mean, this is honestly the first when I saw this movie in theaters, or did I even see it in theaters? No. I remember watching the trailer for the movie, but I never actually saw the movie in theaters, I'm pretty sure. And this is the first movie that I've seen with Sylvester Stallone because no other movie had it. I mean, like, there's the Rocky movies that I found out about later that I didn't actually watch them because I don't really get interested in those. But this is the first movie that actually has Sylvester Stallone that I saw. I know there are plenty of movies out there that have him in it, but it was the first movie that I saw with him in it, which is surprising. I just didn't like his characters that he played. The other versions of him, they didn't agree with me. They were just not. Ugh, weird. And another noticeable thing about the movie that I really could just slam on the movie for how awful it was. I mean, it wasn't completely abomination. There were just a lot of issues with it, and I mean, I'm gonna get into the good stuff later, but I'm focusing on the bad stuff first, because there's always bad things in the movie. So the scenery, yeah, most of the scenery you see in the background is all green screen. It's all added in green screen and using CGI and all that stuff. I mean, well, not really CGI, but like, well, CGI for like the frog, for example, but like, CGI for the things that are moving. But like, green screen is for all the like the Toymaker's lair, his saber chamber, all green screen. You can tell, and it's a pretty bad job of green screen. It's just like it's not good green screen, and it's like all of the movie you see with the characters in it. I mean, there were some practical sets, yes, but most of the movie, like the game world, all green screen, all of it. The Toymaker's robot thing, green screen, all of it. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff that were practical. The set where Junie goes into actually get into the game, that's practical, that's actual set, but most of it was green screen. I was just unimpressed. Like, the first movie had a lot of practical things. Second movie, less and less. Third movie, way less. It just kind of diminished as the movies went on. So I did not like that. I could tell it was like, wow, that's fake. And I also didn't like the fact that Grandpa, Valentine in the movie, he was the only character to ever wear a suit that isn't actually a practical suit, because Junie and Carmen and all the other characters that we get to meet, they all have practical suits on. And Grandpa did not have one. He had a one that was like it looked like it was mocap or something like that, or CGI or something like that. Because the only part of him that actually looked not CGI was the neck piece, and that was it. The rest of it was basically CGI or motion capture or whatever. I don't even think motion capture was a thing back in 2003, or in this case 2002, because, well, yeah, 2002, 2023, because it was being edited during that time. But even then, it was like, good grief. Give him the practical suit, seriously. I mean, I guess the actor is old, it was pretty old, but still, even then, it's like, come on. Really? I just did not like that. They could have given him an actual suit. He's the only character that didn't actually have an actual suit, which is so stupid. Another thing that I didn't like, but I also did like at the same time, was the fact that Junie's the only character, aside from, Carmen and the real guy, that actually has a physical suit. Like an actual suit. He has one that's meant for the real guy. And, Carmen has the one with the claw arms, and the real guy basically has the same suit as Junie, except it's silver. It's a little bit different. But basically what I'm saying is, those three characters have the only suits that don't look like they're from laser tag. Seriously. They're just the characters that just look like that they're suits from laser tag. It's ridiculous. They don't have the guns or anything, but they have like the suits that look like they're from laser tag. It's ridiculous. So, yeah. I was a little unimpressed by that. It's like, really? And because this is a movie about a video game, the only video game reference in the movie that I could tell, I mean, there were like shoutouts to other video games, but the actual video game in the movie that was referenced was Tetris. That's it. It's like, really? I mean, I know the characters were mentioning video games like Halo, Metroid, and Judy was mentioning, some of the consoles, of the old classic retro consoles, but the only video game Easter egg in the movie was a Tetris walk path. Basically, this pathway of a Tetris block that would move. That's the only thing we got. It was like, if you're gonna have a video game, you gotta have to have more than that. I was a little unimpressed by that. So, and I was actually watching Everything Wrong with this movie, and not on Thunderbirds, by the way, it was at a different channel, and they were pointing out that the scene where they're running for the cheek toys doesn't look like they're actually running. It looks like they're running in place. Like, they don't look like they're actually running. It's like they're like, they're hiking in place. And it looks like the kind of running that Grant Gustin does for The Flash, which is not bad, because in the end it looks really good. But when you see it on the green screen, it just doesn't look great. It looks like he's just going like this, running fast like that, and, apparently running. And he did the same thing with this movie, where it just looked like they were not really running in place. And the director did the same thing with this movie, where he basically just had them running in place and make it look like they were running, which is ridiculous. Like, come on, let them actually run. I mean, seriously. I think one of the biggest problems with the director this time, because he has had failure with the last two movies. He's just not a really good director, honestly, because in fact he edited the movie, wrote it, produced it. I think actually co-produced it. And then also directed himself. But it was like, he just is not a good director. I really noticed that his directing is not great. I mean, it's Spy Kids movies, but they're supposed to be for kids, but like this movie was just, well, it wasn't complete garbage, but it was mainly garbage. I didn't really enjoy it. It was just not a good movie. But again, I'm gonna get to good parts really soon. But there was, the lack of parents in the movie which just bothersome to me, because it's like, you gotta have the parents in there. You gotta have, they included other characters from the past movie, but they didn't really. The parents weren't really there until the very end of the movie. They had like a 5-minute cameo, kind of like the real guy, and I just didn't like that. You know, I think the main reason, I mean, it wasn't you know the actress who plays Ingrid or Grandma who had the problem with it. It was actually the fact that the director Robert Rodriguez was actually making another movie called Once Upon a Time in Mexico, which also starred Antonio Banderas, and it also had Dennis Trejo in it. So another reason why they only were featured very little in the movie, which sucks because you gotta have the movie. It's about family. Talk about a movie with family that's said about family. They remove the family until the last minutes. Like seriously, I did not like that. The fact that they all did that they were in the movie for that part of the time. I mean, it was cool to see them, but it was like, really, come on. I mean, also the fact that like when they brought in the characters, it's like Dad, Mom, Grandma, Machete, and they use, if you notice, they use the same background for each shot. It's ridiculous. Like I feel like that's sort of the problem with the movie. Another big problem was the fact that they used the same shots for a lot of the scenes, and it was like, someone's lazy. So okay, so I'm gonna talk about the things I liked about the movie. There's plenty. I'm gonna get into the good stuff here. So the first thing is, this was the first appearance of Selena Gomez in a movie. And apparently this is the first film that Selena Gomez was in, which is crazy. She was the Waterpark Girl, the very brilliant movie, this really cute girl. And it was the first movie of her. I didn't even know that. I thought it was something different, but yeah, apparently this is the first film role, which is very cool. I also like the fact that Junior's retired from the OSS, like he's doing his own stuff. He's like working as a PI. He doesn't have anything to do with the OSS. I don't know why. I think the reason why is because he doesn't think he has what it takes to be about top 5. That's why he left. But in terms of like why he isn't coming back to the OSS, I don't know. But I think that he just doesn't want to. He wants to do things on his own. He wants to learn from on his own, all that stuff, PI, which I think is really cool of him. He's very brave. Like he's changed me. Again, the only thing really changed about Junie is his hair. He get a haircut. That's it. But other than that, he's basically the same person, and he's just doing his own work. And I like that. I like the fact that he's able to do things on his own without having to work for an organization like the OSS. So that's really cool. I also like the fact that the treehouse, it's been redecorated. Not majorly, just like a little bit. Like it has more stuff in it. You'll notice that there's like a big desk right there where the chairs would be. Well, probably because the chairs are collapsible and they can go into the floor. But I like the fact that the treehouse is back, and I like the fact that the treehouse is like Junie's private area, and also I just like it. It's one of my favorite parts of the last movie was the treehouse. I also like the fact that Gertie visit. That was cool. It feels like they're just like really good friends at this point. I don't think they're really gonna be, you know, girlfriend and boyfriend, because I don't think that's really gonna happen. But I like the fact that they're still, you know, they're still checking in on each other. They're still hanging out. They're still friends. I like that. And one minor character that ended up getting destroyed in the last movie was Ralph. I don't know what the acronym for that is, but I liked that character. He was so cute, and he was just so reliable and so helpful, and I loved him. And he got destroyed by Gary, unfortunately, but he's back in this movie, and he's better than ever. It's like a Ralph 2.0, essentially, which I liked a lot. I like the fact that he was back there. He doesn't have much to do, but he's there. And a big complaint with the 3D in the movie. I tried out the 3D. I actually have 3D glasses that I own. The 3D is not great. It's hard to, well, because I was using 3D glasses, they really weren't meant for this, because I don't know why, but I think the only good thing about the 3D in this movie was the laugh counter, how it was ticking down. I like that. It was like vroom, vroom. I like that. That was cool, but everything else was basically shit. Everything else was basically like crummy graphics, just not great, but at least the laugh counter was actually, you know, somewhat cool, so, you know, I like that. And another thing that I like about the movie was the race. It was like the first really cool thing about that movie that they did was the race. Not as impressive as, like, you know, Ready Player One race, but it was cool. I mean, for a while it lasted. It's basically just giant Mario Kart, essentially, because of the projectiles people throw at the people, so I like that part. I like the race. That was a really fun part about it, so. I'm pretty sure it was all green screen, though. Pretty sure. It was like CG and everything like that. I'm pretty sure they probably had a physical car, or at least part of a physical car that they used to you know, do the race, but I think it was mainly just green screen and all that stuff. It was just like really. And like I briefly mentioned before, my favorite suit is probably Carmen's, because she has the giant claw arm. That's so cool. I just love that claw arm. It's awesome. I love it. And that's like part of the. It's like the biggest thing about the 3D was the fact that the claw arm would come out, and that's just like the coolest thing. I remember seeing that And the trailer was like the coolest thing. Like the first 3D movie that I ever got to experience as a trailer. So and like I mentioned, how the only fun scene was the race, but also the other fun scene was the lava surfing. That was cool. That was at least fun to watch. I like that kind of sport. It's fun to just see that kind of stuff. Plus, the music was awesome. So I like the music. The fact that the fact that the movie used the same theme song as the previous 2 movies. I like that. I like the fact that they did that, and also the soundtrack is still bomb as ever. It's still awesome. But yeah, the theme song is still there. It's still the same thing you always hear. But I personally like the race and lava surfing the most out of all the scenes in the movie. They're the only really good scenes in the movie that I actually enjoyed. So and like I mentioned before about the real guy. So Elijah Wood plays the guy who is apparently the real version of the guy. Well, not really. He claims to be the real guy, but he dies unfortunately. And the thing about that is the fact that he was filming Return of the King at the same time. Literally, it was like he only appeared in the movie for 2 minutes because he was filming Return of the King. The joke. So he only got, I think he was only there on set for like, I don't know, an hour. I'd say an hour because it probably because of the multiple takes, but like he wasn't there for very long because he was filming Lord of the Rings. So the fact that they killed him off that quickly, like 2 minutes in, he had 2 minutes to screen time. That was it. I actually tracked it. It was 2 minutes. So not really surprising they didn't make it. So because of course he was filming Lord of the Rings. So it was kind of like, hey, he couldn't really be on 2 movies at once. He had to be on the bigger movie. So he was on this movie for like 2 minutes, and then he went back to Lord of the Rings. So I honestly prefer that movie than this movie. This movie sucks compared to that movie. But like I'm listening to good things, so And at the end of the movie, I really like the fact that Johnny accepts his grandfather for who he really is, who's basically his own superhero. In the real world with a wheelchair, and that in the game world, the grandpa's like, I can walk, I can run, but Johnny still accepts the fact that he's a superhero in his world where he's in a wheelchair. I like that. I thought that was sweet. I thought that means that Johnny really has grown up and he really trusts his grandfather. And I liked it. I thought that was really brave and really nice of him to accept that, because sometimes that's not easy to accept. The fact that he has legs in the game world and wheelchair in the real world. That's a big thing to have to accept, because legs are a big deal to the grandfather. So and there's only like one part of the movie that I actually found funny. I don't really think that I guess Elijah Wood was kind of funny to watch perform, but I think the only real funny point in the movie was actually when Grandpa Valentine, he and Junie basically come out of the game, as if they just experienced what 3D is like, as if they experienced what horrible 3D is like. They're like, ugh, like that. It was just like, yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. That's rough, And I think it's the only funny moment in the movie that I actually liked. And another thing that I kind of felt like it was like hysterical. It was like one thing that I found funny, but there's another thing that I also kind of liked too, was the fact that Felix, the fake uncle, he like when Gorio blasts out of his lab, working on the 5th brain for some reason, and then Felix is like, well, I'm their uncle. Which is not true, because he's not their uncle. He's their fake uncle, because that's like I think that's like a joke from the first movie, because he's posing as their uncle, and then he reveals he's actually not their uncle. So it's like, I think that's like a joke from the first movie, because he's not their uncle. So the fact that he's saying I'm their uncle is not true. I found that was really funny that they did that. So, and the last things about the movie that I really liked was the fact that they included every major character that's appeared in all the movies. That would be Floop, Minion, Gary, Gertie, Dinky Wink for some reason, the Cortezes, obviously, Romero, and I think that's actually it. I don't remember any other characters that were in the movie, but I like the fact that they did that. And I also like the fact that they had elements from the previous movies still there. Like some. I don't really know what they were, but I kind of feel like, based on the way the movie was going, I feel like there were elements of the previous movies, probably because of the characters that were involved. I guess that's really what I meant to say, is the characters that were involved were kind of brought those elements back. And also, like, the fact that we had Romero writing during the letter also had Min and Shark. So I guess that's a way of tying up a trilogy, was to incorporate characters from the past movies. I like that. I thought that was cool. And last but not least, throughout this review, I wanted to talk about things that I didn't quite understand about the movie in general. I just didn't really get it. And the first thing is the spider monkey. So, if you're into the last movie, Junie is given a spider monkey from a Romero, basically a miniaturized version of the one he gets to ride. And in the beginning of this movie, suddenly the Spider Monkey has the staff. Just no context, whatever. Just suddenly has the staff. It might be the staff was in the box that it came out of, but what if it wasn't? If there's no knowing where it came from, so I was like, I didn't really understand that. Another thing I didn't really understand was the fact that Devlin, the director of the OSS, or at least the former director of the OSS, because Romero took over, he's the president now. What the hell? Like, what happened to the other one, the one played by like, Christopher McDonald or whatever his name is? What happened to him? Did he resign? I mean, I'm guessing that's what happened because there's no context given. It's like, okay, I guess he's, like I said, as the president now. I guess the last one resigned. Makes no sense at all. There's no context at all. It just didn't really. I didn't understand that. That's one of the flaws in the movie was I didn't understand that. Just like out of many of the flaws I've seen, that's one of the ones. Another thing I found was the flaw was the fact that Dinky shows up, and again, Junior said calling everyone, but he doesn't even know who Dinky is. So how would he know him? Like how would he know? How would he call him if he doesn't know him? I don't even know why that happened. I don't get that. That was just a completely weird thing that happened. But I mean, that thing that happened, I didn't understand it. It was so weird. You know, I didn't get it, and I wish it was more clear about like why that was a thing. But again, there were lots of continuity errors, lots of problems in the movie, lots of things I didn't understand. That's like one of the biggest things. Like, why would he show up when Judy didn't know him? Like, I don't really know that part. But overall, not a great movie, honestly. But there were some good points in the movie. I liked it. I just listed all of them, which is why the review is extra long. But yeah, this movie is, yeah, it's hard to watch. It's basically a shit pile. But again, I sure like with these reviews is think about things that I liked about it and I didn't like about it. You know, half and half. So there you go. That's all I can say. It's honestly not a great movie. It's not great. So I'm gonna leave this movie with a 4 out of 10. Just green screen. Too much. The director should have changed that. Just no. Ugh, it was horrible. It's just the CGI was crap. The green screen made it look terrible. Everything. I feel like the big final battle, I couldn't even tell if it was green screen or not. I don't even know if it was or not. So, I also just didn't like the fact that they didn't include the parents. Like, hardly. Seriously? Ugh. Anyway, supposed to be family, but I guess I didn't do that. So that was like not cool. So I'm gonna leave it here. There are some fun moments in the movie, but it honestly is not great. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode I reviewed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. I really do appreciate support. And if you're to this channel, subscribe for more episodes of this series and other series that I do, as well as other great content. Also, make sure you click that bell to enable alerts so you don't miss any of my uploads. And I'll be back next time with another episode. Alright? See ya.